What is up, guys? Dale Boy here. So, I wanted to make a post-fight review video for Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin. And I think the first thing to say before even getting into this, it was a tremendous fight that lived up to expectations. It was an outstanding fight. Both guys managed to apply their style at numerous points throughout. It was an edge-of-your-seat type fight. Both guys were letting their hands go, and ultimately, that's what top-level boxing is about, what we saw last night. Just the atmosphere, the event, it felt like a big fight. You know, before the fight, my heart was beating through my chest. It was one of those fights. Tremendous fight, but delivered. And ultimately, as boxing fans, that's all we can ask for. And, you know, people are going to be talking about that fight for a long, long time, albeit in controversial circumstances, but ultimately, that's just a part of boxing. It'll go down in boxing history. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. People will debate the scoring all day long, but doesn't take away from the fact that it was an outstanding fight and one that will be remembered for quite some time. But the fight was declared a draw. One judge inexplicably had it 118 to 110 to Saul Canelo Alvarez. Adelaide Bird, after that, needs to be investigated because that is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. These are professional judges, and there's no way you can score that 118 to 110 for Canelo Alvarez. Sorry, it's a disgrace. And are we really supposed to sit here and believe that there's not something going on with Canelo fights? Really? I mean, look at the Lara scores. I think one judge had it, 117, 111 to Canelo? No way. At most, Canelo won that fight by a round, if he won it at all, you know? I mean, look at the Cotto scores, again, extremely wide for a close-ish fight. Look at the Austin Trout scores, again, extremely wide. Look at CJ Ross's card in the Mayweather versus Canelo fight, and that was against Mayweather. A draw? Are you serious? I mean, come on. People have got to look at these Canelo cards and put two and two together because it's getting too often now. It's getting way too often. You know, people always used to joke about Sven Otzke in Germany getting dodgy cards, but listen, some of these Canelo cards look disgusting. There's something not right, and if you believe otherwise, then I think you're naive, to be quite honest. I think you're naive. All of these bad cards should not be always favouring one fighter, and ultimately, it's got to the point now where we do need to talk about it, because it's happened so many times in Canelo's career. Like I said, the Trout fight, the scorecards were way too wide. I didn't have an issue with Canelo winning that fight, but the cards were ridiculous. Austin Trout could never win that fight. Joke. Arislandi Lara, I thought Lara nicked it. I thought it was a close fight, but 117, 111 to Canelo? Really? No, I'm sorry, that didn't happen. Miguel Cotto versus Canelo Alvarez, again, I thought Canelo won, but the cards again were way too wide. Now with Golovkin we've got the same thing, and obviously with Mayweather, the draw. So, let's not act like this is a one-off. Let's not act like this hasn't happened before. Let's not act like this hasn't happened multiple times before, because it has, and it's becoming a joke. Listen, man. It's a shame that this fight is going to be overshadowed by that bad scorecard. It's a crying shame. It really is, because the fight was tremendous. I thought both guys were exceptional, and yeah, that kind of ruined it for a lot of people. Let's talk about the fight briefly. Canelo Alvarez actually started really well. I felt the first 3 rounds he was really good. He was countering very effectively, landing the uppercut. The straight right hand was finding the target. Canelo Alvarez, this is one thing that surprised me. The jab of Canelo Alvarez was very, very efficient, and he was out jabbing Gennady Golovkin in the early stages. Didn't expect that, because I always felt Gennady Golovkin's jab was far superior, but Alvarez's jab was on point. Really, really good. The first 3 rounds, he applied himself very well. Defensively, Alvarez has improved so much. in recent years, and watching this fight made me realise how good Canelo Alvarez actually is. You know, defensively he's excellent. He slips punches extremely well. Really good in the first 3 rounds, but after the first 3 rounds, I felt Golovkin started to get back into it. Golovkin did start slowly, there's no doubt about it. But after the third, Golovkin really started to apply the pressure. Yes, he was missing shots, but the jab after the third was consistently landing. He was pushing Canelo back on the ropes, letting his hands go at times, being a more busy fighter. You could argue that Canelo was still landing the eye-catching shots, but it wasn't enough to offset the work rate of Golovkin and the pressure of Golovkin. It just wasn't enough. And maybe that's the reason, well, I'm not going to make an excuse for the judge, but maybe that was one of their reasons of defence for why they scored the fight for Canelo, because his shots were a lot of the time more eye-catching, but just didn't offset the volume of Golovkin and the pressure of Golovkin. Golovkin was always trying to force the fight. Canelo Alvarez was in retreat for vast majorities of the fight. If not on retreat, he was on the ropes. He very rarely came forward and tried to push Golovkin back. But when he let his hands go, he was finding the target, you know, against Golovkin. He was finding the target. And when Canelo let his hands go, Golovkin didn't punch with him. And that was one other thing that Golovkin... Oh, and I've noticed this before. When you throw your shots, when you let your hands go, he's not going to throw with you. So Canelo was scoring when he was letting his hands go. You know, Golovkin's not hard to find. Particularly, like, to the body, he's not hard to find. And when he comes in, sometimes he kind of holds his head low, so he's open for that uppercut. He was finding those sort of shots all night. The straight right of Canelo, although it was landing at times, quite a lot actually, there's a lot of times when it looks like it lands, but it actually doesn't. So Canelo would throw the right hand, but Golovkin's got this thing where he'll sort of raise his shoulder slightly and lean away. So the punch will hit his shoulder and kind of deflect up, if that makes sense. And it looks like it lands, but it doesn't. And that's just a subtle defense from Golovkin that some people are not going to notice. Some people might watch it on TV and think it's a scoring punch, but it's not. He's deflecting the shot with his shoulder as he leans back. And I saw a couple of those where the commentator called it as a punch. I mean, come on, man. You're the commentators, man. You should be spotting this sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, Golovkin did do that quite a lot in this fight. I saw that quite a lot where Golovkin would like sort of not slip. It's not like a slip, but just a subtle defense where he'd raise his shoulder and lean back, and you know he'd block or partially block a right hand, and that was very effective. So anyway, after the third, Golovkin starts to apply pressure. He's winning rounds. As the rounds go on in the mid rounds, I started to feel that Canelo potentially was starting to be in the danger of falling behind, and there's a couple of rounds where he didn't let his hands go too often, and I was wondering at that point, is the fight getting a bit too much for him? Is he starting to wilt under the pressure of Golovkin? Because although Golovkin wasn't always getting through cleanly, and I will concede that, you know, it's a mental pressure that Golovkin puts you under. He's making you work sometimes without even throwing a shot, and that's one of the reasons why he's so successful. And he was definitely doing that to Canelo Alvarez. He was manoeuvring Alvarez around the ring all night, even when he wasn't punching. So he was definitely making it a hard fight for Canelo in terms of stamina. But mid-rounds again, I felt Alvarez had some success, obviously. You know, he was countering well at times. He did land a few combinations here and there. But overall, you've got to say, Golovkin was the one pushing the fight. He was the one landing hard shots, landing big shots against the ropes. He started to land a couple of body shots. So in the mid-rounds, I felt Golovkin was having the better of it, but again, Alvarez was having his own success. The fight draws on the last few rounds. I felt going into the 11th, Alvarez needed a big round or the fight's probably gone for him. And in the 11th, to his credit, Alvarez did have a good round. He started to let his hands go, landed some big shots, rocking the head back of Gennady Golovkin, some eye-catching shots, countering very well. Round 11 was really good for Canelo Alvarez, actually, and he needed that at that stage of the fight, because when we went into round 11, I felt if Alvarez doesn't win this round, then he's lost the fight. But he won round 11, and in my opinion, he won round 11. and he had a really good round. Round 12 again, he actually comes out really strong, lets his hands go, catches Gennady Golovkin numerous times at the start of a round, really setting a good pace at the start of the round. But after like 45 seconds, his work rate drops, and Golovkin then kind of takes over in that round and applies pressure. Both guys at the end of the round let their hands go, tried to do some work. Both guys had success. Round 12 was hard to score because Canelo started well, then Golovkin took over, and then the last 30 seconds both guys had success. And there was a lot of close rounds in this fight. It was an exceptional fight. It really was. I was thoroughly satisfied with what I paid for. I resubscribed to Box Nation to watch this one, and it was money well spent. But yeah, I didn't score the fight, I have to say, but my impression was that Golovkin won. Is a draw plausible? I'll have to go back and watch it. Sometimes when you're watching a fight and you're waiting for the decision, sometimes you think, oh, it's quite close. Sometimes you think, oh no, there's no way fighter B won. But I did feel that it was close enough to something dodgy to happen, I'll be honest. I thought they was going to give it to Canelo Alvarez when I heard that bad card, I'll be honest. I thought they was going to give it to Canelo, but they gave it a draw. I felt in a fair world probably Golovkin deserved a win. But again, the cards are going to just take away from the fight it was. And the cards are actually going to take away from Alvarez's performance. Because I thought Alvarez was very good. Defensively, he was outstanding, I thought. You know, rolling shots, slipping shots. He's got an excellent defence. He really does. And Canelo Alvarez is a pound-for-pound level talent. I mean, people are saying... I've seen people say guys like Lomachenko and Crawford should be above Canelo Alvarez in the pound-for-pound list. I'm not so sure, because ultimately Canelo has fought at a much higher level. He's fought better competition than these guys, and he has applied himself very well. The only thing with it is, like, we see all these bad scorecards all the time, so it takes away from his actual performances, in my opinion. It really does, because I felt Canelo Alvarez was outstanding defensively last night, and he had some great success offensively. When he let his hands go again, he kind of shut down Golovkin's offense. He was countering very well. The jab was excellent at times. It really was. Jab for jab, sometimes Canelo was getting the better of it. So, great fight. Maybe some disappointing, a disappointing scorecard. I'll have to watch it again and score it properly. Maybe the draw is plausible, so I'm not going to criticise that card too much. I didn't want to score this fight at the time. I just wanted to enjoy it. It was one of the biggest fights of the year, and I just didn't want to be sitting there with pen and paper scoring it, to be quite honest. It would just take away from the fight. And I've noticed that actually, when you do a boxing channel, I've noticed anyway that to me, when I sit down and score a fight live, it takes away from my enjoyment of the fight. You know, if I'm going to score it from now on, I'm going to probably score it after. We'll see. Maybe I'll start scoring again, but yeah, I'm gonna sit down and score this one. I might make a follow-up video for it, go round by round, but I'm not sure yet, man. I'm not sure. I loved the fight. It delivered big shots, combinations. Two contrasting styles, controversy. The fight had everything, man. The fight had everything, and some people are going to say it's been ruined because of judging, and they've got a point. But yeah, great performance from both guys. They both proved their worth. And let's have a rematch, man. We need a rematch. There's no excuse for any other fight. Golovkin versus Canelo 2. Make it happen. Make it happen. Also, shout out to Diego De La Hoya on the undercard. He defeated Randy Caballero in a very good performance. Caballero was a former IBF bantamweight champion, and De La Hoya put a whitewash on him. You know, that's the most impressive I've seen Diego De La Hoya fight. So he looks good as well, man. But yeah, great night of boxing. Please share your thoughts below. What did you score it? Did you guys score it pen and paper? I've not done that yet, so you guys will have to let me know. Was it close enough to be a draw in your opinion? Do you think Canelo won? I've not really seen anybody say they felt Canelo won yet, but I'm sure they're out there. Yeah, but just tell me what you guys thought of the scoring. How does a rematch go? Tell me that. And yeah, tell me what you think. Peace.